Hello, and welcome to episode 1 of Metroidvaniac. Okay, so what or why is Metroidvaniac something that I chose to do? Well, when I'm trying to select a game to play, whether it be for a review or stream or just offline by myself, I find it really hard to make a decision just based on the sheer amount of choice available. So, what I've discovered, what works best for me, is to break things down into categories. So, the point of this series is to discover and review Metroidvanias, which happens to be my favorite genre, or at least my comfort pick for a genre. Now, you may ask yourself, what is a Metroidvania? I mean, maybe you're asking yourself this. I would describe it as a side-scroller with many interconnected areas and gates or obstacles that you need either powers or keys to bypass. Other than that, the themes and even game mechanics can vary wildly. Some companies get really experimental with the format. I mean, a Metroidvania that you're a little bug delivering mail attached to a pinball? Yeah, I'll have some of that. Yes, please. Thank you. Without any further ado, let's move on to the review. Today we will be looking at Greak Memories of Azure. My main way of finding new indie games to play is typically to just look through the sales on digital platforms and look for any art that kind of sticks out and watch some trailers. And I have to say, Greak stood out immediately. It has an art style that I can only really describe as colorful Hollow Knight. And it features this grouping system that kind of made me think of Lost Vikings, so it intrigued me. The game begins with you controlling Greak. It starts with a brief tutorial about jumping in combat. Eventually, you'll run into your sister Adara, and that'll begin the second part of the tutorial for the grouping system, where they'll teach you how to use them as a team or individually to solve puzzles or do combat. I find the system both good and bad, but I'll get into that a little bit more later. And then the tutorial kind of ends abruptly. I still don't really get it, even rewatching this footage. Like, we definitely destroyed this Urlag here. Well, I guess earlier in the tutorial you do fall into a chasm, so maybe the whole second part was just a dream. Guess that would explain why you're found in water instead of in a castle. You get rescued and taken to a village, which is where Greak wakes up. Only to find that, once again, Greak is on his own. Tutorial over. As you set out into the world, Greak's main goal is to reunite with his sister Adara and brother Raydell. But while you're doing that, you're also tasked with helping the village. You see, there's an invading enemy army that's destroying everything in its path. And the village is trying to make an airship to try to get out of town. So you might as well look for the materials they need while you're looking for your family, right? Right? You can also pick up a few optional quests around town, such as getting the lens for the telescope that a bird left with, I guess. Exploring out of the town means facing more baddies. Baddies, which drop currency. Currency, which you can use to buy healing items or upgrades. You can also collect miscellaneous food items around the forest, which you can combine in these pots to make even stronger heal items. So it's probably a good time to mention that this is a save point type of game. No Dark Souls elements here where you drop your money or whatever on the ground and you can go back and collect it. Nope. If you die here, it's back to the title screen. While exploring, there's some secrets to be found, normally giving you some kind of upgrade for your characters. So you're going to make your way through the land, doing platforming, fighting bosses, doing puzzles, until you eventually meet up with both your sister and brother. Okay, now that the gang's all here, let's talk about the uniqueness of each character and what they bring to the table. First, you have Greek. He's got a bow for range attacks. He uses arrows that you find in miscellaneous crates and off of enemies. He's got some pretty good mobility, good attack speed, but his range is really short. And he's also the only one that can crawl in these little tunnel ways. Second, we have Adara. She's kind of your wizard character. She's got a ranged attack, although it runs out of charge. Her double jump is replaced with a hover, which is pretty good, but it also drains that charge bar. Her air meter is also way longer than Greek's, so she's going to be your main swimmer. And finally, we have Raydell, the warrior. He has a strong sword attack that has good range, a shield that he can either defend in front of him or above him, and he's got a grappling hook, which you can use to grab on various items throughout the game to launch yourself into the air. And what's his weakness, you might ask? Complete inability to swim. Just immediately respawns you back to ledge. Okay, so that's the individuals out of the way. So, what about this grouping mechanic? Well, let me tell you, it's really good and really bad at the same time. Let me try to explain. You see, you can separate your group so everybody acts individually, even though the AI doesn't really act when you're not controlling them. Alternatively, you can pull your group together, becoming like this wall of blades and magic that just destroy anything you approach. The issue with this is every single time someone steps on a ledge wrong, or they grab a ledge wrong, or one person gets hit by an enemy, things like that, it desyncs your entire group, and then absolute chaos. I would say this is my main source of frustration playing through this game. So, for combat, I would say overall the grouping is kind of a grab bag, but where it shines is puzzles. I really enjoy how they use the uniqueness of each character to kind of force you to problem solve your way through the various puzzles throughout the game. Especially the final area. I'm not convinced that there's only one solution. It feels kind of like a sandbox that you're free to tackle however you see fit. But that as it is, it's kind of a shame that you only get the 3 party members in like the last fifth of the game. I would have loved to see a lot more clever and unique puzzle designs going around this mechanic. Okay. So with all that out of the way, what do I think of Greak Memories of Azure? Well, visually, I think the game looks great. They had a really nice artistic touch. Keeps looking great from start to finish in both cutscenes and gameplay. Music-wise, it's a little hit or miss. I mean, I've been using the music from the game for this review, and as you can tell, it's kind of just what I would describe as orchestral ambiance. I also found that there was large periods of time that no music was playing at all, but that could have been a bug or something. Control-wise, I thought the game felt pretty good, other than the weird group jankiness. That would be my only complaint. The story I thought was pretty interesting, with this whole ongoing war that your side is clearly losing, so you're trying to evacuate. And there's also a corruption in the land that you have to fend off at the same time. The game does end on a note of, hey, there's going to be a sequel, but I'm not sure if there's one in development at the moment. Honestly, it would be really cool to see because, like I was saying, my favorite part was towards the end when you had the full group and they had some interesting puzzles to solve. So if they started the second game and you had the full group already, I could see it being really cool. Oh, and one final thing that is probably worth mentioning is I beat this game in about 6.5 hours, which is pretty short. So if you want like a bite-sized Metroidvania to run through, I think this is worth it. I don't think it's gonna blow anybody's mind, but if you see a good deal on it, I recommend picking it up. Well, I guess that's all I really have to say. I guess that's episode 1 of Metroidvaniac. Please let me know what you thought. And I know it's a bit different from my first review. I am planning on jumping back and forth between retro and this kind of genre, but we'll see. And as always, if you have any recommendations, just leave them in the comments below. But thanks for watching. Catch you guys next time. Peace.